In the scorching heat of the Arizona Territory, where the sun beat down like an unrelenting judge on the parched earth, rancher Elias Hawthorne reined in his horse at the edge of a forgotten canyon. Dust swirled around him as he dismounted, his weathered boots crunching against the cracked ground, drawn by a faint, desperate whisper carried on the wind. There, slumped against a jagged rock, was a woman, her dress torn and bloodied, her face gaunt from days without water or mercy. She lifted her head weakly, her eyes locking onto his with a plea that pierced the silence of the wild frontier. She begged for the end to come swiftly, her voice a broken murmur that echoed the pain of a life pushed to its brink. What Elias saw in that moment shattered him to his core, unraveling the hardened shell he'd built over decades of loss and regret, for in her features, he recognized the ghost of his past, a daughter he had long believed lost forever to the cruelties of the West. If this story of redemption and unbreakable bonds already tugs at your heartstrings, and if you believe in the power of kindness and second chances that can heal even the deepest wounds, then hit that like button, drop a comment below sharing your thoughts, share this video with someone who needs a reminder of hope, and subscribe to Moments of Love for more tales that celebrate the human spirit. Elias had always been a man forged by the land, his hands calloused from years of wrangling cattle across vast, unforgiving plains, his heart scarred by the memories of a family torn apart in the chaos of frontier life. Back in '67, during a brutal raid by outlaws on their small homestead, his wife had been killed defending their home, and their young daughter, little Amelia, had vanished into the night, presumed taken or worse by the marauders who left nothing but ashes in their wake. Elias had searched for months, riding from town to town, his grief turning to a bitter resolve that isolated him from the world, transforming him into a solitary rancher who spoke more to his horses than to men. The ranch became his prison and his penance, a place where he buried his sorrow under endless toil, convinced that fate had dealt him a hand too cruel to ever reshuffle. But on this fateful day, as he knelt beside the woman in the canyon, her plea hanging in the air like a noose, he noticed the silver locket dangling from her neck, a trinket he'd given Amelia on her 10th birthday, engraved with a simple promise, "Forever in my heart." His hands trembled as he reached for it, the realization crashing over him like a flash flood, flooding his soul with a torrent of emotions he'd long suppressed: joy, horror, guilt, and an overwhelming urge to rewrite the story he'd accepted as final. The woman, Amelia, though she barely resembled the child he'd lost, was a shadow of survival, her body marked by the brutalities of a life stolen from innocence. She had been captured that night so many years ago, dragged into a world of captivity among nomadic bandits who roamed the Badlands, forcing her into labor and worse, stripping away her name and her dreams until she became just another forgotten soul in the vast wilderness. Escaping had come at a terrible cost. Pursued relentlessly, she had stumbled through the desert for days, evading bullets and starvation, her spirit clinging to life even as her body begged for release. Elias, his voice choked with unspoken apologies, refused her plea, instead lifting her frail form onto his horse and riding back to the ranch with a determination that burned brighter than the midday sun. The journey was agonizing, each jolt of the horse's gait a reminder of her suffering, and Elias wrestled with the ghosts of his failure, how he hadn't protected her, how he'd given up. The search too soon, how the years of solitude had made him a stranger to the very blood he now carried home. At the ranch, he tended to her wounds with hands that had forgotten gentleness, drawing water from the well, preparing broth from his meager stores, all while the weight of their shared history pressed upon him like the heavy timbers of an old barn. As days turned into weeks, Amelia's recovery was a slow, tortuous climb from the abyss, mirrored by Elias's own internal battle against the walls he'd built around his heart. She lay in the spare room that had once been hers, the faded wallpaper a silent witness to happier times, and though words were sparse at first, the air between them thickened with unspoken accusations and regrets. Elias faced the challenge of confronting his abandonment, reliving the night of the raid in fevered dreams where he failed her over and over, waking to the reality that she had endured unimaginable horrors, sold between outlaw camps, witnessing atrocities that hardened her soul, and bearing the scars of beatings that left her body twisted and her trust shattered. He struggled with the guilt that gnawed at him, questioning whether he deserved this second chance, his days filled with the mundane tasks of ranch life now infused with purpose, mending fences not just for the cattle, but for their fractured bond. Amelia, too, grappled with her demons, her pleas in the canyon echoing in her mind as a symbol of how close she'd come to surrendering, yet something in her father's eyes, a flicker of the man who once told her stories by the fire, began to kindle a spark of hope. The ranch, once a place of isolation, transformed into a sanctuary of tentative healing, where sunsets over the horizon painted the sky in hues of forgiveness, and the quiet rhythm of daily chores allowed wounds to scar over, if not fully mend. Suspense built in the quiet moments, as whispers of the outlaws' pursuit reached the ranch through travelers passing by, rumors of a gang seeking a runaway woman, their leader vowing vengeance for her escape. Elias fortified the homestead, his rifle always within reach, his nights sleepless as he patrolled the perimeter, the fear of losing her again twisting like a knife in his gut. Amelia's strength returned gradually, her hands joining his in the work, planting seeds in the dry soil as a metaphor for their rebuilding lives, but the emotional toll was profound, tears shed in the barn over memories unearthed, silent embraces that spoke volumes of pain and love intertwined. The turning point came during a fierce storm that rattled the ranch, lightning illuminating the darkness as old letters from Amelia's childhood spilled from a hidden trunk, revealing Elias's undying search efforts he'd never shared, posters yellowed with age, journals filled with his despair. In that revelation, Amelia saw not the failure she'd imagined, but a father's unbroken devotion, and Elias witnessed in her resilience the legacy of his wife's spirit, shifting their dynamic from strangers bound by blood to allies forged in adversity. The outlaws' arrival was inevitable, a climactic confrontation under a blood moon where Elias, with Amelia at his side, defended their home not with vengeance, but with the fierce protectiveness of reclaimed family, the gunfire echoing the release of years of pent-up sorrow. As the dust settled and the threats receded into the annals of the Wild West, Elias and Amelia stood together on the porch, watching the dawn break over the renewed land, their bond a testament to the enduring power of love amid chaos. The ranch flourished under their shared stewardship, cattle herds growing as did their capacity for joy, with Amelia's laughter, a sound Elias had mourned as lost, filling the air like a long-awaited rain. He found purpose beyond survival, teaching her the ways of the land that had sustained him, while she taught him to embrace vulnerability, turning his shattered heart into one pieced together with threads of grace. Their story became a whisper among the frontier folk, a reminder that even in the harshest terrains, second chances could bloom like wildflowers after a storm, inspiring those who heard it to hold fast to hope. Elias, no longer the broken rancher, looked upon his daughter with eyes cleared of regret, knowing that her plea in the canyon had not been the end, but the beginning of their redemption. If this tale of a father's unwavering love and a daughter's unyielding spirit has touched your heart, stirring emotions that remind you of the beauty in forgiveness and family, then please like this video, leave a comment sharing how it moved you, share it with loved ones who could use its message, and subscribe to Moments of Love for more stories that celebrate the triumphs of the human soul. Before we wrap up, I'd love for you to comment your favorite line from this story below. It could be the one that gave you chills or brought a tear to your eye, so we can all share in the moments that resonate most.